All right, everyone get ready because today we are going deep into the world of astrology.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, right? Specifically, we're looking at how sun and moon signs can impact romantic relationships.
The big question?
You guys sent in a ton of sources about compatibility.
That's right.
And honestly, even I'm a little curious about what we'll find. Now, before we get too far into it, let's get everyone on the same page.
Always a good starting point.
So, could you give us a little reminder about what the sun and moon signs represent in astrology?
Sure.
Because I know most people only pay attention to sun signs, but it seems like the moon sign is like the secret weapon of the relationship game.
It really is. You're totally right. Most people know their sun sign, and it's that outward personality, like how you present yourself to the world.
Right.
Like the title of your autobiography, the bold statement.
Okay, so if the sun sign is the title, what's the moon sign then? The fine print.
More like the secret chapter, the one that reveals the deeper story. Your moon sign is all about your inner emotional world. It's your instincts and how you react to things on a gut level. It's also the way you nurture, how you seek comfort, the things that make you feel safe and secure.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives. It's like suddenly I understand why that friend always needs reassurance or why your partner goes silent when they're upset. It all makes sense now.
Right.
And your sources talk about how the sun and moon signs play off of each other, especially within the context of the four elements: fire, earth, air, and water. I'm really curious to see how those elements change things up in relationships.
Yeah, well, fire signs like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, they're known for being passionate and energetic. In relationships, they bring that excitement, that zest for life.
Right.
They really need spontaneity, and they need a partner who can keep up with their adventurous spirit.
Okay, so like pairing a fiery Leo with a steady Taurus, that could be like a classic case of opposites attract.
Yes, exactly. And while fire signs crave excitement, earth signs, like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they're more grounded and practical. Stability is their love language.
Makes sense.
They're looking for someone dependable, someone loyal, someone they can build a solid foundation with.
Okay, so fire and earth could be a pretty interesting mix. What about the air signs? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, are they the free spirits?
You could definitely say that.
Yeah.
Air signs are all about communication and mental stimulation. They thrive on intellectual connection and need a partner who can engage them in those interesting, thought-provoking conversations.
Yeah.
Someone who respects their need for independence and mental space.
So definitely not the clingy type.
Right.
Makes sense. And then finally we have the water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. I'm picturing deep, soulful connections here. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely. Water signs are the emotional deep divers of the zodiac. Intuition, sensitivity, those are their superpowers. They need to feel a really deep emotional connection with their partner, someone who understands their subtle cues and offers a safe space for vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it's not just about receiving that emotional support. They need to give it too. They're natural nurturers, always ready to dive into the depths of their partner's feelings.
Okay, my mind is already blown with all this emotional depth, but I have to ask, you mentioned how water signs express their need for intimacy through acts of service. That's not something you hear about every day, so tell me more.
Think of it this way. They're not just saying, I love you. They're cooking your favorite meal when you're stressed or remembering those tiny details that matter to you. Basically, they go out of their way to make you feel cared for.
Wow, that's really insightful. You're right. That's not the typical picture people paint of romance, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about how emotional water signs are at their core.
Exactly. And this is really just scratching the surface.
Right.
We haven't even talked about how each element's moon sign expresses those needs differently.
Wait, so a fire moon sign shows their need for connection differently than, let's say, a water moon sign.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. A fire moon might need that connection through passionate arguments and grand gestures.
Okay.
While a water moon craves deep conversations and quiet moments of shared intimacy. They're both looking for that close bond, but expressing it in totally different ways.
I can already see how this can get complicated, and we haven't even talked about specific pairings yet.
That's where the real fun begins. But before we jump into compatibility, let's take a closer look at how these moon signs operate within each element.
All right, lead the way. I'm ready to unpack these moon sign mysteries.
Okay, let's do it. So we're talking fiery moon signs. Remember, the moon is our inner world, so a fire moon, it doesn't matter what their sun sign is, they need that same passion, that same spark in their emotional life.
So we're talking Aries moon, Leo moon, and Sagittarius moon. What makes them tick in relationships?
Think intensity. They live for excitement, spontaneity, even a little drama. They need someone who isn't afraid to really go deep with their emotions with them. Someone who can match their energy, keep things interesting.
Okay, I'm getting a sense of like fireworks and grand romantic gestures,
Oh,
but
wow.
wouldn't that get exhausting for the other person after a while?
It could, especially for someone with more grounded moon sign.
Right.
And that's why understanding these dynamics is so important. It's not about like changing who you are,
Yeah,
but it's about knowing what you bring to the table and finding a partner who really gets that.
makes sense. So, fire moons need someone who can handle the heat.
Right.
What about earth moons? They seem like the more steady, reliable type, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn moons really crave stability and consistency
Yeah.
in their emotional lives.
Yeah.
They might not be as outwardly expressive as fire moons, but they have deep needs for security and dependability.
So instead of fireworks, we're talking about those slow-burning embers, that sense of safety and commitment.
Yeah, think cozy nights in, acts of service, knowing they can count on their partner no matter what. It's not about the big gestures.
Yeah.
It's about the little things that build trust and intimacy over time.
I bet they appreciate a partner who can create that sense of stability in the real world too, right? Like financial security or helping out around the house.
Absolutely, especially for a Taurus moon.
Mm.
It's ruled by Venus, the planet of comfort and sensuality, so they need to feel secure on all levels, not just emotionally.
Okay. I'm starting to get a clearer picture of how these moon signs work in relationships. Now, I'm curious about air moons, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We talked about air signs needing that intellectual stimulation, so I'm guessing air moons need that emotionally too, right?
Totally. Air moons process emotions through an intellectual lens. They need space to analyze their feelings, and they really crave open, honest communication with their partner.
So no sweeping things under the rug or expecting them to be mind readers.
Definitely not. They need to talk things through, dissect their emotions, understand the why behind the what, and they're energized by new ideas and experiences. So having a partner who can keep them mentally stimulated is really important.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like they need to mentally understand their emotions before they can really embrace them.
That's a great way to put it. They don't run from their feelings. They just need to process them in their own way.
Right. All right. Last but not least, those deep feeling water moons.
Oh, yeah.
I can already feel the intensity here. What makes them feel safe and loved?
Water moons need a really profound emotional connection. They need someone who can dives into those deep waters with them and not freak out.
Right.
They're so intuitive and empathetic. They often pick up on their partner's unspoken needs and emotions.
So they're like emotional sponges, just absorbing the energy around them. That sounds both beautiful and kind of overwhelming.
It can be both. They need a partner who can handle that intensity, someone who's not afraid to be vulnerable and share their own feelings, someone who understands that sometimes words just aren't enough. It's those unspoken gestures, the subtle acts of care that mean the most.
Wow, this is really making me rethink how I view relationships. It's not just about finding someone who makes you laugh or who shares your interests. It's about this whole other layer of emotional compatibility.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting when we start to look at specific sun and moon sign pairings. Actually, your source material gets into some of the pairings that are known for being really harmonious and some that might have more challenges.
Okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Let's get into the specifics. Which pairings are like astrologically blessed and which ones might need to put in some extra work?
Well, this astrologer says that fire sun signs often do really well with other fire signs or air signs, especially when their moon signs are compatible too.
Okay, that makes sense. They feed off of that shared energy and enthusiasm. Oh, wait, you said air signs need space and independence. Wouldn't that clash with a fire sign's need for constant attention?
That's a great point. And it really shows why you can't just look at sun signs by themselves. So while a Leo sun might love the spotlight, a Leo with a Gemini moon might actually like a partner who gives them space to think and explore. It's all about balance.
Okay, I'm seeing how this all gets a little more complex. So it's not a guaranteed success, but there's potential for a lot of sparks and excitement in those fire-air combos. What about those grounded earth signs? Who are their ideal matches?
This source suggests that earth suns tend to find lasting happiness with other earth signs or with water signs. It's that stability and emotional depth that builds a strong foundation.
I can see it now, like a Capricorn sun with a Cancer moon and a Taurus sun with a Pisces moon, all cuddled up by the fireplace, sharing their deepest feelings.
Exactly. Of course, everyone is unique, but those combinations tend to just get each other.
Right.
They understand each other's needs.
All right, so far so good. What about air sun signs? Who can handle their need for mental stimulation and freedom?
The source says other air signs are a good fit. But surprisingly, they also mention fire signs as a potential match.
Wait, really? Air and fire. I thought they were total opposites. Explain that one to me.
It might seem counterintuitive, but think about it. Fire brings that spark, that excitement that air craves, and air brings the mental stimulation and freedom that fire needs to really thrive. They challenge each other and inspire each other.
Okay, I see it. It's like they each bring something different, but those differences actually work together.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that balance.
And let's not forget about those sensitive water-sun signs.
Oh, right.
Who can handle all that emotion. I'm guessing other water signs for sure. But what about the other elements?
You're right. Water signs do often connect deeply with other water signs, but this source also mentions earth signs as a compatible match. Earth brings the stability and grounding that water needs, and water offers the emotional depth and intimacy that earth might not express as openly. It's a nice mix of practicality and emotional intelligence.
This is all so insightful. I feel like I'm learning a whole new language.
Yeah.
But let's be real. It can't all be easy, right? What about pairings that might have some rough waters?
Yeah, because even with the stars, relationships take work. And this source highlights a few combinations that might need to be really aware of their differences.
Okay, I'm all ears. Which pairings are facing an uphill battle?
Well, one that could be challenging is a fire sun with a water moon. The fire sun's need for independence and expressing themselves outwardly can clash with the water moon's need for emotional closeness and deep intimacy.
So it's a constant back and forth between let's go on an adventure and let's cuddle and talk about our feelings.
You got it. It's not that this pairing can't work, but it takes a lot of understanding and compromise.
Okay, what other combos are on the watch list?
Another tricky one can be an earth sun with an air moon. Earth suns are all about practicality and routine, while air moons crave mental stimulation and change. So if they don't find common ground, this can lead to conflict.
I can already picture the arguments about weekend plans. Earth sun wants to stay home and organize, while air moon wants to go to, like, a lecture on time travel or something.
Exactly. And then there's the air sun with an earth moon.
Mm-hmm.
Air suns are very logical and detached, while earth moons crave emotional security. This can create communication problems if they're not careful.
So the air sun might need to, like, actually say their feelings out loud more, while the earth moon might need to be more patient with the air sun needing their space.
Exactly. And last but not least, we have the water sun with a fire moon.
Oh, boy.
This combination can be really create some inner turmoil.
Yeah.
Because the water sun's emotional depth clashes with the fire moon's need for action and excitement.
So instead of calm waters, we're talking a tsunami of feelings, followed by, like, a volcano of energy.
Yeah, it can feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a passionate combination, but it takes a lot of patience and understanding to navigate all those emotional ups and downs. But even within these challenging pairings, there's always room for growth and understanding.
So it's not about just, like, writing off certain pairings.
Right.
It's about being aware of what might happen and using that knowledge to make the relationship stronger.
That's the key takeaway here. And your source actually offers some really practical advice for how to handle these potential problems.
Okay, now you're talking. Give us the goods. What can we actually do with all this information?
Well, one of the biggest things, no matter your astrological combo, is to just embrace the differences in your emotional needs. You know, it's about recognizing that your partner might not express emotions the same way you do.
So instead of trying to make them into our, like, ideal moon sign clone,
Right.
we should be celebrating those differences.
Exactly. For example, if you're a water moon and you crave deep conversations, but your partner's a fire moon who shows affection through those big gestures, try to appreciate those expressions for what they are. You know, don't feel like they're not getting you.
It's like learning to appreciate different love languages.
Yeah.
Right? Like a bouquet of roses might not mean as much to a water moon as a heartfelt letter would.
That's a great way to put it. And talking about communication, that's another big piece of advice from the source.
Right.
Learning to speak your partner's moon sign language. You know, understanding their unique way of expressing their needs and feelings.
Okay, I like that. How do we become fluent in moon sign?
Well, it starts with understanding the core needs and communication styles of each moon sign. Like, an air moon might show love through witty banter and stimulating conversation.
Yeah.
While an earth moon might show affection through acts of service and practical gestures. It's all about recognizing those little cues.
Right.
And responding in a way that makes sense to your partner.
It's like you're cracking a secret code.
Yeah.
But instead of finding treasure, you're finding a deeper connection.
Right. I love it. And lastly, the source talks about how important it is to balance energies,
Okay.
especially when one partner is more emotionally intense than the other.
I'm picturing a seesaw. How do we make sure no one gets launched off the emotional high ground?
It's about finding that balance point where both partners feel heard and understood. Let's say you're a water sign and you thrive on those deep conversations, but your partner's an earth sign who needs time to process their feelings.
Yeah.
Maybe you set up regular check-in conversations where you can both share, but you're also respecting your partner's need for some space.
So it's not about ignoring your needs or expecting your partner to change, but about creating a space where you can both be yourselves.
Exactly. And sometimes that means letting each other express emotions differently.
This is all such good advice. It's like we have a map for relationships, you know? I feel like I have a whole new understanding.
It's really amazing how much astrology can tell us about ourselves and how we connect with others.
Absolutely. And this isn't just for romantic relationships.
Why?
These insights can apply to friendships, family dynamics, any relationship, really.
That's so true. Knowing your own moon sign and the moon signs of the people in your life can really change how you communicate and how much empathy you have.
Okay, before we finish up, I have one last question that's been on my mind since we started.
Okay, let's hear it.
So let's pretend you could choose your ideal partner's sun and moon sign. What would you go for and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There are so many possibilities. I think for me, I'd be drawn to someone with an Aries sun, adventurous, passionate, always up for a challenge. And then to balance that fiery energy, I'd love a partner with a Cancer moon, someone nurturing, intuitive, really in touch with their emotions. That combo, to me, is exciting, but also has emotional depth.
I love that. It's the perfect mix of fire and water. What about you? What sun and moon sign combo would you choose?
Well, you know me. I'm a sucker for a good conversation. I'd be fascinated by a Gemini sun, someone witty, curious, and always full of surprises. And for a moon sign, I'd probably go for a Virgo moon. Someone grounded, practical, and always trying to make things better. I think that combo would keep me on my toes mentally and emotionally.
It sounds like a match made in heaven. This whole deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I have a much better grasp on how sun and moon signs affect our relationships.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we're all different, with different ways of showing and feeling love.
And that those differences, instead of being roadblocks, can actually help us grow and connect in amazing ways. Well, everyone, that's it. Another deep dive complete. We've learned about astrological compatibility, how to speak moon sign, and we even created our dream astro partners.
And most importantly, we talked about the power of understanding, communication, and compromise in creating strong relationships.
Well said. So as we wrap up, we'll leave you with something to think about. Think about the people in your life, your partner, your friends, your family. What do their sun and moon signs tell you about their needs and how they express love? How can you use this knowledge to strengthen your bonds and make your relationships more harmonious?
It's a chance to learn, understand, and connect on a deeper level.
And on that note, we'll say goodbye for today. Until next time, keep learning and stay open-minded. And remember, the universe is full of wonders just waiting to be discovered.